down, 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 ticka ticka da da, ticka ticka da da, ticka bow. That was the Breaking Bad theme song. Had it stuck in my head. Why? Because it's a good goddamn song. Now, welcome back to A.R.'s Tales, aka the A.R.T podcast. I am A.R. Balin today. I don't know why I just started that. I actually started. I'm saying that intro so many times. I was about to do the peer vlog intro, but no, it is just me because it is Wednesday, my dudes. And just doing a little soul class, getting some info out to you based on everything that we're doing with Neotino, the book. Very specifically, I actually have a couple of really cool updates for Iris of Mercy. And of course, Allegory of the End coming on Z-Way. Very excited for that. Very excited for that. I don't know if I've said it now, but I am going to have to push the release date just un poco, 2 weeks into June. So I'm thinking a June 14th release, I believe, is when it's been pitched, it's been landed. So that is what we're going to go with. Because I'm done with these crazy days. I just want, it's getting to me. I just want this out. I want it out. I want it done. And I want it now. Binga digga boom boom. I had a very musical eye today. Well, and you know what? And that goes perfectly into our sponsor, One Audio. Power of music. You gotta buy the shit to use it. A ding boom. And the boom boom. Remix. Digga bing. Digga boom boom. Check out oneaudio.com. Awesome audio equipment, affordable prices. Go to checkout. You use the special code AR special. I don't know why I just hesitated there, but it happens sometimes. AR special. That's ARSPECIAL. You go to checkout, you get some additional discounts, some gift codes, little goodies, and of course, a little kickback to El Podcasto. Hey, you know what you're doing. I gotta eat too, okay? And then we also have Format Printing, honestly. Big ups to them. They're the people that do all the awesome printing of all the graphics and everything that we have for the Allegory of the End, everything I have behind me, all the, different little graphics that I always show on previous episodes. Check them out. Format Printing, another great little company. Now, on to the podcast. What I want to talk about today is actually where I'm at with Allegory of the End, because it is plotted. It is basically, well, I can't say it's basically done, because the real nuance of everything is kind of getting into the emotional development. But before I get into that, let me backtrack a little bit. So where I'm at with Allegory, where I'm at with Iris of Mercy, I'm sorry to misspeak there, is the book is going to be, as I've said previously, it's going to be into 2 parts, which I'm actually considering maybe dropping as a novella instead of a novel, containing both Ha's and Alice's parts. That might be a cool little idea, actually. And I might end up doing that now that I honestly sit and reminisce on the idea a little bit more. But anyway, the idea is that you have Iris of Mercy, part 1, part A, side A, right? If you think about it like a vinyl, is Ha's story. And it starts off with the quintessential desert scene, the thing that I've kind of, replicated here with the little cactus thing that I made and posted up on social media. And they have their whole little that whole almost symbolic scene of XYZ blah blah that leads in from the prologue into chapter 1, him being saved by the Iris Black, which is a tribe of nomadic people. They kind of well, I don't want to spoil it. They have a unique way of society, and not only that, but they are completely isolated from the rest of the world. They have no communication. They're not aware of anything that's going on, and that's pretty significant because a couple months after this whole desert scene is when, you know, pretty big geopolitical move starts happening across Niamey, but they are just completely unaware. They're literally, if you ever see a map of Niamey, and I wish I had one on hand with me to be able to reference it, but if you think about the globe, kind of like how I'm holding it here, and the top is, you know, sector 3 where like the most of the story happens, and then sector 1 going down to sector 4 and 5 and all that. They live in sector 6, which is an archipelago, right? I believe that's what it's called when you have like a series of islands that is on the like on the left corner of the globe. Basically, they are just completely not walled off by anything crazy, but they are just not even the waters are like that crazy, um like tough. They need to be, that needs to be like navigatable in a certain way, although those waters are pretty intense. But that's just really a side note. The main thing is that people just rather use the again, I don't want to spoil much of the plot, but we'll just leave it there, the isolated. Then you have just the continuation of the character, and then again, I have everything plotted. I know the beginning and the end. So what I had been doing was that I was adding all the in-betweens, and I made like a full rigid timeline. And I mean a full rigid timeline of the entire, not just Hours of Mercy, not just Allegory of the End, but a full timeline of the entire Death of Order saga, which is, you know, the umbrella name for everything containing in the books and everything like that. You know, Allegory of the End, Volume 1 is book 1 in that series. Then book 2 is going to be Hours of Mercy, Part 1. Then Allegory of the End, Volume 2. Then Iris of Mercy, Part 2. You know, and then so on and so on, and it goes from there. But for the most part, everything gets wrapped up. All the stories, how I've put it, is that they're all like Lego blocks. You know, there's a portion of it here, a portion of it there, and to get the full thing, you know, you connect them all, and it makes the one full bridge to what the story is, the full path, right? And I think that's really cool, just because of the difference in writing. Just for example, because of what Allegory of the End was, because it was the point of view of Jid and Zeiko, it was a sci-fi. Because you have Jid, who's an engineer, and you have Zeiko, who is, you know, the president of the world basically, and just has a lot of, you know how it is. The president has probably the highest level of technology in like any government, because like, you know, not only protection, but they also the ones that are going you know, to the whatever bases and X, Y, and Z and blah blah blah. You know how it is. Or maybe they don't, and that's just like the things that like we to attach to that title. In reality, they're just like there, you know, passing bills at the office. Who knows? But I always like to think it's more of like that secret thing of like, ooh, okay, now we're gonna go see that new spaceship that can go into space by like, you know, Mach 13. But that's really, again, side note. The main thing is that it's a very technology driven book. I mean, like even the advancements that Zeiko uses in order to get further is technological advances that help the society. So it's everything just ties together with technology. And again, a lot of the inspiration for that book was a kind of a Black Mirror, you know, Asimov, Philip K. Dick type of vision of the future, where it's an awesome technology at first, and it's interpreted in a way that's like, yeah, I would actually really want to live in that society. And then as you slowly degrade and just understand the nuance of that society, you realize just how fucked up it actually still is. And of course, that speaks to the higher image of like what society is like. No matter how propelled we are by technology and how rapid technology can increase, like we're just still always held back by just our evolutionary trait and just, you know, animalistic urges and XYZ, whatever you want to call it. And then you have Iris of Mercy, which is, again, even though I would consider myself a sci-fi writer, this one just does not lend for that genre. Like there is really no need to go into the science or into the technological aspects of a fucking tribe in, you know, living in an archipelago in a remote part of the world. It's just not what it is. Like how I envision them is the same way that there's still Amazonian tribes today that have no communication. You know, when they see an airplane, they're going like, oh shit, you know, Like that same idea of a tribe of a people is basically what the Irish Black is on just their little sector, right? They pay no attention to the advancements of the world around them. And then the flip side of that is that you have the Maidens of Mercy, which I'm actually thinking, I recently just kind of thinking, I don't know how I feel about calling them Maidens of Mercy, because it just like sounds like, I don't know, kind of weird. I was considering going with Hands of Mercy, because that's what, like, even when I first thought of the name, I always thought that Maidens of Mercy was going to be like the name of the clan, but then a Hand of Mercy was always going to be like what they actually consider themselves. So like if you want to think about it like I don't know, you can be in the Republican Party, but within the Republican Party you're like a delegate, you know, like you're in a thing, but there's still a title within that overarching title. I don't know. But side note, just from that anyway, is that the story continues from the maidens when Alice decides to, well, I can't say, whatever. When Alice decides to join up with them and kind of find them, the story kicks off from, well, her side starts up with her prologue, which actually I think I'm gonna probably have to call it like an interlude or something like that, or I don't know. And again, that's only a problem if I do break it up into novellas versus one big novel of Iris of Mercy. And just for what I understand of production and things like that, I really don't see any reason why to put it into one novel. If I just now that I'm thinking about it, I mean, just with how production is and editing and everything like that, like, it seems a lot more beneficial to just get one up in production and going as I'm having the other one still in production. I don't know if that makes a lot of sense, but basically it's, you know, putting breads in like halfway and then just like multiple ones and just like keep on baking them through until you have like until they all come out done in like a staggering order. Again, I don't know if I really made sense with that analogy at all. What the fuck do you want? It is the morning. You think my brain's that awake? Jesus, leave me alone. Um, he says as he holds a podcast that only he has the ability to stop anytime. Anyway, so the whole thing with Iris of Mercy is that you have, I mean, it kind of indicative for the name, right? You have Iris of Mercy, which is derived from Iris Black, the first clan that's talked about, and then you have Maidens of Mercy. So Iris of Mercy, and that in itself is just, I mean, there's other like hidden layers there, but you know, that's for other people to digest. I'm not gonna drop that. Can't give all the secrets away. The cool thing that I like about the whole maiden thing is that, now I've talked about it in previous episodes about the whole elemental thing, so I'm not gonna like dive too heavily into that. But one thing that I've always liked about like that clan is that they are just, they have a foot in the society, but it's not, well, they have like an ear to the society, but it's not crazy. So their little thing is, their clan is a little more technological savvy than the other, but even then, like, even to say savvy isn't a right term. Like, you have to consider that these people, because I don't want to give too much away, but these people have been, again, isolated by the rest of society, but really not by the going ons of what society is, because they do have a little bit, you know, they, where they live is a kind of a repurposed lab of sorts. I don't want to give too much away again. So they do have like very old communication systems and communication stuff like that, but they don't actually have any idea how to work it. You know what I mean? Like, they have been isolated from that society and they reclaimed that spot, you know, like over time and whatnot, but it's not like they actually know how to use the technology. They're not engineers. That's not what they were doing. And more so, they were isolated from society. So it's not like they have ready access to be able to learn to do things like that. It's not within their nature. So the technology they have is more religious. Like, they don't know how it works. They don't know how to fix it if it gets fucked up. It's just one of those things that it's just like a thing, they just like pray to. It's a thing they have no understanding how it works, but it's just a thing that helps them survive. And one of those things is the communication hub, which is, again, faulty, not the greatest thing ever, but it helps them in order to do what they do, which is, oh God, I've said it before openly, so I guess if you really want to spoil it, you can go back to previous episodes, but I guess I just as I'm actually writing it, and I'm being kind of like alluring to the idea, I'm just not like saying it like in the first page. I do want it to be something that you kind of figure out what it is that they do. Same thing for Iris Black. So if you want to spoil there, go back to previous episodes or previous solo cast. I think I spoiled all that in like the first or third one, something like that, when released in like December, late November, around that. But for the most part, now going forward, I don't think it's something I want to spoil anymore. I think it's something that I definitely want to leave just for you to digest, so you can understand just how polarizing these two events are. And again, it's the whole reason for the Iris of Mercy. It's the reason for their yin and yang type of thing. It's that they both go through such a different emotional development. Oh, and that's really what I want to go into. So what I just laid out, everything I just talked about right now, was just lore, right? It was just background. It was just world building. The important thing that I just had really finalized as of last week for just the entire, saga and everything, because I wanted to have like a really good foundation. Because again, as I was writing it, I would just hit those points that it was like, oh, wait a minute. Like, how does this work into this other point from Allegory of the End, Volume 1, and how is it going to set up for Book 4, and what's going to happen if I set this time at this time, but then it doesn't line up for Book 5. Like, it was one of those things I just realized I had to, even though I had the plot and the story and the events and all those like plotted out for the entire saga, it's a different thing to have a legit timeline and be like, all right, at this month this happens, that week this happens, and that way it's just a lot more coherent in your head. And you can it's almost like playing a puzzle game when you start like getting kind of good at it, and you just like see a line to always go to instead of like looking at it like it's a puzzle. Same thing, when you actually have all that lined up, it's not even a thing of writing anymore. Like, writing actually becomes really fun when you have, well, for me anyway, that's just my process, not process shaming. So to me, when I have everything just lined up like that, and especially when like the ideas start really festering in my mind, and I have like an image in my head that's like burned, and the only way to get it out of my head and like stop annoying me is to like draw it out. So when I have like a good, that all laid out, which I'm happy that I finally have for Eyes of Mercy, and I can continue and just like bang out the book, because again, I am aiming for September release. And you know what? I'm just gonna drop it here. Boom! Major news. Oh my God! I just died. Why did I have to die so young? It was the weirdest thing. As I hit my chest, like I somehow made myself cough. That was the weirdest thing ever. It is not the COVID, okay? It is not the 19. I promise you. What it is I'm going to drop the book right now. I'm gonna decide it just as I've been talking myself into it. Basically, it is gonna be novellas. Instead of having it as Iris of Mercy Part 1 and Part 2, it's gonna be Part 1, 2, and then 3 and 4. So how it is gonna be with releases is that it's gonna be Allegory of the End Volume 1, which releases very soon, and it's gonna be immediately followed up by the novella of Iris of Mercy, Haz's side, or however I decide to. Oh, I guess I could do it by title. So it could be Iris of Mercy Part 1, subtitle, the Iris Black. I don't know. I'll have to make up some cool title for that. But then for the Maidens of Mercy, the Part 2, that's actually a little easier, because they can be Iris of Mercy Part 2, the Trials of Mercy. That goes a little bit better. So continuing from that, what I think as far as like a Gantt tree, like a Gantt chart of what is going to happen, how it's going to be released, is I think it could be worked out that, you know, we release as early as maybe like August, hopefully. That would be kind of awesome. And then we would follow up with part two maybe in October. Um, Early October, hopefully, maybe even make it for my birthday if I have to push it really for the absolute furthest. But for the most part, I'm pretty happy with that timeline, and I also think that it just lends into kind of a cool thing because now you have a novella that is just one full story instead of it being kind of like how ours Allegory of the End is, that you kind of get like another point of view. Although I really think that the point of views are like they really are one story, and you know it's really told with the idea of imagery and mirrorism and all those things, but with just how people consume literature. And again, I guess it's more kind of a test than anything, because if I really want to, I can still make 3 and 4 in one book as I originally planned it. And if I really want to, I can still drop a special edition of Iris of Mercy and, you know, combine both parts into one book, and I can do whatever the fuck I want. So I guess for any person listening out there, that there really is no like cracked code. You know, if you haven't listened to every group cast, if you haven't listened to every peer vlog of me, like, you know, having great chats with fellow authors and, you know, XYZ, then the main thing to take away is I can just give you like a little TLDR, right? Or TLDW, right? Too long, didn't watch. Uh, is that no one has the code. Even like the most successful authors that I've interviewed, no one has the code. It really is just something that you have to keep. It's a try and test. Like no one really has cracked the code to what this industry is, what is the best route to go. And anybody that says they do is really just trying to, you know, like call attention to themselves, get more views or XYZ or, you know, whatever it is. And I'm not knocking that hustle. Do what you got to do. But no one has got this. No one. So, you know, that's one thing on myself. I guess I gotta have to make sure that I want to try out, right? Just trial and error, see if the 2 novellas would be a better release than having just one full novel. Who knows? Now, personally, I think it still leans in just because of the release date of it. Basically, what it is just allowing people like almost early access to half of the book, and then they get the other half later on. And I'll definitely put pages alongside, which is another thing for any person out there. One of the coolest thing about the indie is that now, you know, we really control the entire thing of the book, and that doesn't just mean that, you know, the chapters and, you know, the copyright thing and the cover and, you know, the table of contents. That means you can add pages, right? That means at the end of your book you can add like a little social media page. You know, you can do things that were never needed before in books prior. Like, you know, books would end with like what, like the acknowledgments or like the thoughts, maybe an appendage. It would like it would end with a little blurb of whatever the fuck the author was doing, and then it would just be, you know, the end of the book. But we're indies, we can do whatever the fuck we want. We can put a social media page on there. We can put a page talking about, you know, hyping up our next books. We can talk a page like, you know, maybe giving a free short story, or, you know, trying to get people that like the book to hop on your newsletter. We can do whatever the fuck we want. So to that extent, I definitely am going to add pages in between. Well, at the end of Allegory of the End, obviously, kind of tying, chiming into what is coming, which will be Iris of Mercy, and then Iris of Mercy will end with another chime to the next part, and, you know, so on and so on. And that way, if you really vibe and you really understand, then you know, it's not just a thing of just going by book order, but it's also understanding that the story really does dip and dive. I mean, at the end of Allegory of the End, kind of a weird tongue twister there. But when you finish the first book in the saga, right, Allegory of the End, Volume 1, and you read the synopsis of Iris of Mercy, the idea is that you should be excited. Like after you have read that and to understand, it's like, oh, and this is where the story continues from there. It's like, oh shit, okay, I would like to find out, you know, what happens to Haas, who was a side character in Allegory of the End. You know, I would like to find out what happened in those missing years. I would like to find out, you know, what got him to the point in the book that he's introduced in. And then the same thing for, you know, when his section ends and it goes into like, all right, and the continuation is, you know, Alice's story, and you're like, oh shit, Alice, that was the blah blah blah, and he was even mentioned here and da 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 da. And again, everything just ties together. And even and again, one of the things that I mainly do is that I end and start. Like one of the first things that I do is that I have the very first sentence and the very last sentence known of what the work is going to be. And major spoiler alert, but I'm going to drop it right now. Another one. Ready? Boom, boom, boom. All right, that was actually kind of more of like the internet routing thing from like AOL back in the day. You know, I just like picked up a phone while I was trying to like look up a YouTube video and just like blew out my ear. But what I was gonna say was the last sentence of Haz's part, just so you get an idea of how everything ties together, is him saying, Alice? Oh shit. Ooh, that's all I'm gonna say. His last thing that he says that ends the book is Alice? Question mark? Oh shit. Pour vous? You know? Que quoi? Que cosa? Right? Oh shit. The fuck was that, right? And I'm not going to get too much into it, what that means and how that goes and everything like that. But that is how that ends. And Alice's story, not going to tell you how that ends. Go fuck yourself. You'll have to find out. Or maybe I'll drop it. Like, you know, same thing when I drop the thing in like a couple months when I'm amping up that part of the story. Who knows? Listen on. But that is about what I want to talk to. Well, I mean, I could talk about a couple of things, but gonna keep it little on the shorter side today. I need to make sure that I get this all out and just I'm trying a whole bunch of different things. Again, everything is a trial and error, folks. And there's nothing better than growing, honestly. There really isn't. So this is the end of the podcast, AR's Tales, aka the A.R.T podcast. Check with us on Friday. We have a new group cast, new group of authors coming together, chatting, you know, trading tips, trading laughs. Always a good time. Check it out. And then Monday, we have James Mcgrave. James Mcgrave, motherfuckers. He is another very, very prolific author, you know, 20, 25 years in the business, countless books out, countless short stories. I'm telling you, you would have your mind blown if you look up this man's short story collection. It is on another level. Like he must write one a day, like since he's been a kid, has to. Like that's how much he has. I'm not kidding. So check that out. That's going to be another blast. This is the end. And I don't mean that as in the Joe Rogan movie, which was hilarious. I just recently saw that. But this is the end of the podcast. Check with us soon. Peace out. You already know neotino.net for anything related to the website, anything related to the company. If you want to check out some free short stories, you want to get a newsletter and have me send you fucking weird, you know, messages or whatever. I don't know why I said weird. I don't mean weird like I'm gonna, you know, send you a picture of my dick or some shit like that. I mean weird like, you know, me being weird. I'm really, you know, I don't know. I don't really even say. I don't know why you always want from me. There's so much pressure. No, but if you really want just like a quick short story, if you want just like updates of what allegory is what is happening with Allegory of the End, what is happening with Hours of Mercy, neotino.net. And if you're ever interested in any services that we offer, cover art, you know, graphics, anything, paintings, you know, if you want like your version of that cactus thing that I want, you know, just send it my way, do a contact, or even just go by email. And you can look up on the description for that. So peace out. We will check up on you on Friday. Good night.